It's a me, a Mario.
Chris Pratt is ruining voice acting as we know it. So recently a new trailer for the upcoming Garfield movie came out, and it had me intrigued as to what it could be about. As someone who's not the biggest Garfield fan, I thought it wouldn't hurt to pop it on and see what the fuss is about regarding it, since my friends were talking up a storm about it. I was a pretty big fan of the Bill Murray ones as a kid for how batshit crazy they were, but also hearing how badly Bill Murray hated playing Garfield made it feel oddly perfect to watch, since Garfield hated his life. Hey, he just like me for real. Anyways, I put on the trailer, and lo and behold, who do I hear voicing the infamous life-hating character? Chris Pratt! Now, I don't hate this man for existing, like a lot of incels on Twitter do, or hate him for his acting. I love a lot of the things he's in, but watching this trailer made me realize that the state of animated movies and voice acting in general is on a downward spiral, and I thought it would be an interesting topic to bring up for a video to reflect on. So without further ado, welcome to another delicious take from your boy, and let's dive into the crucial reasons as to why the voice acting industry is being dominated by Chris Pratts. It goes without saying that the big named actors we see voice acting our favorite characters is all about notoriety. Chris Pratt, for example, is an A-list actor with a bunch of top grossing films under his belt, and if that wasn't enough of a reason, he gets publicity. Even though some of the publicity is bad, it's become a meme on the internet to clown him for his voice acting chops. But that's literally the reason people filled up the seats in theaters to watch Super Mario Brothers, and it's why it drove a lot of the ticket sales through the roof. The human race loves to bring attention to things they hate, yet by doing so, that provides that product with further money, attention, and overall success to whatever they were hating on. Why do you think Velma is getting a second season? And I can't lie, I'm doing this right now. Hell, I literally did this for Velma when it came out almost a year ago now, but I can't stress this enough that if we don't continue to keep feeding these corporate films, they will continue to make them despite our concerns. Hate watching has become a mainstream outlet on YouTube for YouTubers, Twitch streamers, literally any social media influencer uses it to drive views and interaction to their pages. It's normal for any news outlet or page like mine to do this, but this causes the notoriety for certain projects to become celebrated, even if it's in a bad light. When Chris Pratt was announced to play Mario back in 2021, memes spread all over the internet, clowning on him for weeks. Yet what happened when the intrigue for the movie built up when it released? It became the second highest grossing film of the year behind Barbie. So much for not liking him as Mario, huh? With Garfield now being broadcasted to the world, it raises the question why this keeps happening and if history will repeat itself. Now, Garfield isn't as mainstream as Mario is, so who knows? But I do think the film will do surprisingly well, since it has a lot of stacked talent behind the scenes voicing the characters. There's Chris Pratt, Samuel L. Jackson, Nicholas Hoult, and much more, which speaks for why notoriety is one of the reasons behind erasing primary voice acting talent. Take any of these actors and put their voice on top of an established character, and every studio is planning to market the hell out of that because hopefully people will sign up to see it regardless of who's voicing the character. I'm convinced no studio actually cares anymore to hire original voice acting talent who perfected their craft over decades of experience because they just don't have the notoriety that convinces studios to hire them. Comparatively speaking, looking back at the golden age of animation, which I'd consider the 90s, you'd have animated programs for television alongside your traditional movie theater experiences. Now, I wasn't a part of the 90s, kids. I grew up in the early 2000s, but thankfully, I got to witness firsthand some of the magical animated programs on TV from the 90s because I had two older brothers who were 90s kids. I watched the Batman animated series, the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man shows, and the Justice League series. Those shows carried some massive voice acting talent that nobody really heard of back in the day. Christopher Daniel Barnes as Spider-Man is still one of the top tier goats of Spider-Man voice actors, just behind Josh Keaton. Kevin Conroy is still considered the greatest Batman voice of all time. Peter Cullen in Transformers, Mark Hamill as the Joker, and so on. Where the movies still utilized big name actors like they do today, it was much more of a significant presence when they did voice the characters. When I was younger, I had no idea Robin Williams voiced the genie because he had so much passion in his voice while he was speaking. James Earl Jones's voice was so impactful as Mufasa that he left impenetrable marks on every Disney kid's heart, whereas today, it feels like studios get a big name actor in the booth to just say lines without any emotion in their voices. They legit don't feel like they're voice acting, just collecting a paycheck. And it's so sad to see. As animation continues to die out, like WB shelving a ton of their animated TV shows, and people continuously seeing animation as only a means to serve children, which is so dumb. Studios continuously avoid the risk of choosing professional voice actors to play these significant roles, which leads me to the main reason most of these studios do this: money. Now don't get me wrong, obviously the studio needing to make money is a valid reason to be wanting to hire famous actors. But it's truly a shame that studios don't think the IP they hold isn't enough to rake in that type of crowd itself. You're telling me you need to rely on grabbed Chris Pratt or Samuel L. Jackson to drive ticket sales instead of the literal decades-old character who people love? Because of the notoriety Pratt brings, the studio feels secure enough that he'll guarantee the movie will draw in an audience, successfully chartering in box office bucks. While all the studio execs kick back in their chairs and watch as every professional voice actor loses out on another character they could have had their big break with. Obviously, there are some exceptions of actors who genuinely try to bring something new with their voice to some characters. Some recent examples I can think of are Jack Black as Bowser or Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. I guess my issue summed up here is that these corporate movie releases are all starting to feel like products instead of actual movies. They're churning them out with no real motive behind it. With newer and newer corporate schlop coming out, you forget just how amazing it felt to turn on a cartoon as a kid and watch some voice actors truly go to work. It seems like the only place for voice actors to go right now, where they can truly shine through, is video games. Take Yuri Lowenthal, for example. Very famous for voicing Spider-Man recently, but he also voiced Bleach. Lord knows Nolan North has been all over the map with using his voice talents in games, with Nathan Drake, Deadpool, Tony Stark, and more. Over the last decade, animated movies are slowly becoming less and less about the actual art of voice acting, but more about who can be attached to the IP to bring in more and more money for the overall studio. And as someone who's cherished watching animated TV shows and movies as a kid, it's sad to see the road is currently going down, and hopefully it changes in the future. I know this is kind of a random video, and y'all probably weren't expecting something like this, but I felt like I needed to say something about it. This past week, a bunch of movie news has dropped, and while some is exciting, others either make me feel uneasy or genuinely terrified with how it'll be handled. Animated movies have definitely been hit with corporate greed a lot lately, and I felt like I needed to comment on it, but also I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think voice acting is slowly dying as a profession? What are your thoughts on Chris Pratt voicing Garfield? Let me know down below. Click here to watch the rest of my videos on my channel in this playlist, and over here is my current ranking for every Stan Lee cameo to date. I hope you all enjoyed this delicious take. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.